The Joint Committee on Electoral Matters has proposed a 30% salary cut for legislators and a 40% cut for executive members to reduce costs. This recommendation is part of the committee's review of the National Assembly's approach to the Electoral Act 2022, aiming to address cost concerns and streamline government operations. The session also saw discussions on how to enhance the efficiency and cost effectiveness of elections in Nigeria.
Now, political parties proposed during the sessions that all elections, presidential, National Assembly, governorship, and State House of Assembly be conducted in a day, arguing that the current system is not cost-effective. Political parties also suggested that continuous voter registration process is linked with the National Identity Number, NIN, amongst other proposals. Joining us is the Chairman, African Democratic Party, George Ashiru. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. My brother, my sister, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. I mean, with the time that we have, let's quickly start with the whole recommendation on 30% and 40%, salary cost for House of Assembly members, legislative and executives. Is this necessary? And, there's people who would argue that we're focusing on the wrong things. Whatever they earn is too little to really add anything to Nigeria's, general economy. So there's no need focusing on all of that. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I partially agree with it. The actual salaries of senators are just about $1 million. That's not extraordinary. After all, soldiers from Brigadier General earn just as much, professors earn that much. So senators who are in charge of Nigeria's legislative processes should earn good living wages. That then means that everybody else should earn good living wages. Our real concern should be that in the private sector, when you pay people well, you see the performance. You have great expectations and you see the evidence of it thereof. I think so. Our major problem is performance management. The senators collect whatever the collectors running costs, a total of about 20 to 21 million on a monthly basis, of which only 1 million is their personal wage. All of the rest is meant to be dividends of democracy, going out there, running their policy departments and the various staff in the offices. But what are they generated in terms of value to the electorate? That is really where the issue is. So when you pay the bank MD 10 million naira a month, 20 million, 40, 50 million, it generates a profit of about 5, 10 billion. He has shown you why you're paying that much, that he can deliver value. So what we are saying is this: what people are paid is not critical as much as what they're delivering. But what is the National Assembly delivering to Nigeria? That is really the big question. And if they're delivering the profits that we expected in the investment we made in democracy, then we can pay them very well. Until they do so, those running costs need to be halved. It's not the salaries that matter, it's the running costs that need to be halved. That's where I stand on that.
All right. I'm glad that you highlighted that, because I'd wanted to ask you, there are those who say it's not just about the salary, it's the allowances in general. But let's talk about consolidating all elections into a single day to reduce costs. With the kind of system that we run, are we able to achieve the consolidation of elections? We saw how highly disputed the 2023 elections were and still are. There are many Nigerians who would believe that there were a number of things that went wrong with the 2023 elections. So first of all, is it necessary for us to consolidate the elections? If it is, can we afford to consolidate the elections into one day?
As a matter of fact, it's cheaper to consolidate. You're paying the same polling agents the same amount of money. You're paying all the ad hoc staff of INEC the same amount of money. Instead of doubling it, you're paying just once. And all that is happening is that the electorate have to stay longer on the queues. They have to stay longer to be able to tab each of the various boxes for all of the various positions. And as long as there's a proper demarcation and proper understanding of that process, there really is a value to having elections in one day. There is a serious value. There should be impact analysis made, of course. The impact analysis will tell us, all the pros and cons of doing it. But in terms of actual cost of election, the cost of election in Nigeria is massive, massive. It will run state budgets in about 4 or 5 states of the poorest states in Nigeria. So you can imagine the saving going into hundreds of billions if we actually do focus on just having all our elections in one day. Like I said, all it takes is just staying longer to tab the various positions from president all the way to the state assembly and councillors. So I think we can do it. I think it's something worth looking at. And definitely we political parties, that's why we support it.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people agree with you. Sorry, a lot of people would agree with you, and with the points that you've made, and also the fact that you know, we run a very, very expensive process that unfortunately has not been able to, you know, justify the reason we're spending 400 billion naira when we still have the many loopholes, you know, that occur during the election. So there's a lot of these, you know, places here and there that need to be cleaned up if we need to have an electoral process that we can trust, you know, after spending 400 billion naira. The idea of linking voter registration to the NIN, you know, is that also a great idea? Would that also help many more Nigerians to be able to be a part of the electoral process?
Well, think about it. The United States, you know, United Kingdom, and in all these other countries, all the security apparatus of each individual, the biometrics of each individual is encapsulated in the social security number. And once you have a social security number, you can vote. You know, you don't have to have a voter's card. Just put your social security number on the forms, and you know, the system will pull out your data, and then you vote. You know, I do not remember that there are ID cards in the UK when I lived there. I don't think people received specific ID cards to be able to be residents or citizens. Once they got the national insurance numbers, you have this number that allowed you to pay your taxes, allowed you to get social benefits. That number is what you use for almost every transaction, as long as you are registered to vote, being an adult. So I think there is absolutely a necessity to be able to ensure that, number one, we don't have multiple voting. We don't have situations where, you know, because we're trying to have all the votes in one day, that people are running around from one pillar to one post. By using just a simple biometric, the national insurance number, I actually agree with that. And once that is embedded in an international passport, embedded in your voter's card, embedded in everything else that you use to identify yourself, then that really means that for a change, we would have a consolidated capacity to generate data concerning everybody when they vote and if they violate the Voting Act as well. So really, that is another good idea, which I think we should also consider doing. By the way, implementing has always been a problem of Nigeria. It has never been generating good ideas.
Okay, I think as quickly as possible, let's talk about the process of registering or selecting an INEC chairman. Our INEC chairmen have come under controversy. The last one, the one before the last. Let's talk about the process of appointing, you know, or selecting INEC chairman.
I mean, the current process is still at the whims and caprices of the president of the country, then to be approved by the National Assembly. I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with it. What's fundamentally problematic is the fact that we don't have options. You don't have 4, 5, 6 people being considered. You just hear one person has been selected and the name has been forwarded. There's no antecedents, there's no competitiveness, there's no sense of why this person is being considered. And I think that's really what we need to do. We need to be able to have a process that tells us who the next INEC chairman is likely to be because of the criteria which we have set. And then once we have all those sort of criteria in place and everybody's able to consider the competencies of all of the individuals concerned, then we pick the best. National Assembly can then get involved. Otherwise, we may put everything to referendum in the future. You know, give us 6 names and the people vote. You know, in the United States, people vote for the attorney general. They vote for the district attorneys. They vote for every critical position because the people want to have direct control over who governs all of their democracy. So I think all of these things are something we should consider. But I don't think right now the key problem is whether or not the president is appointed. The key question is, what is the criteria for selecting? The key question is, what is the criteria for approving? You know, and then why don't we have an open bidding process where several people can put their names forward rather than the president just going to look for whoever he wants to pick from anywhere? Once we have a situation where it's an open bidding process, different people can apply, and we know the criteria and it's open, we already know the people that are qualified, and we can even put names forward. Then the National Assembly, and the National Assembly should be able to reject the president's candidate and suggest somebody else.
All right, George Ashiru, we're out of time for this conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. I understand how important it is because a lot of people are anxious about the next general elections. Many people would like to see, you know, something that at least assures them that it will not be a repeat of 2023. So we'd like to have you join us again pretty soon. And of course, next time we will, you know, definitely be asking you about Funsho Dahati, leaving the ADC to the PDP and, you know, how you feel about it. But thank you for your time this morning and speak with you soon.
It's my pleasure.